Whoa, we're back with some Bleach Soul Resonance, and I wanted to do a video that is sort of conceptual. I think it's going to be something that people just sort of need to hear, especially when they're playing free-to-play, and because I am, obviously, I am free-to-play. You can see my Jade here is at 20,000. You can see my paid Jade is at 0. We can look through the boxes. I don't know if these... Oh, yeah, I guess I say 2 out of 2, 1 out of 1, 2 out of 2. So you can see nothing here is activated. If you're wondering, oh my god, why is he going through all of the paid things again? It's just to make sure that people know that I'm not, like, capping. See, free. All these are free, etc., etc. I like going through these. I like making sure people know. See, obtain now, nothing. I just want people to know, you know, I'm not fibbing. I'm not Fibonacci out here. Just before we get into this point, because it does matter. This point matters, and I want to get it across without any sort of smoke and mirror or anything like that. So, earlier, obviously, Frenzy Feast has come back, and ooh, I guess spoiler alert, but your boy, Lone, is top 54 on a free-to-play Z. On the free-to-play ski. That's right. Let's go down to my total score here. We can see that 80,000, about 100 points away from being 53, so on and so forth. So, you know, definite improvements I could make with my account. I'm not at all satisfied with a lot of my supporting cast. Things like my Tosin is just not strong enough. But we can see I'm top 70 in the Zaraki Kenpachi fight, which is the strike team. I used Yodahara for that. That felt good. I'm top 8.6% in the Spirit team. I mean, you know, no cap. Like, my Toshido just isn't strong enough. I didn't pull his weapon. I don't have his core stamp. This week, if you would notice that when I go to the trials and I go here, I have 14 stamps saved. It's because I stopped spending them the moment I realized that we were about a week away from Grimjaw or Kenpachi. Now that I know it's Kenpachi, I'm especially not interested in pulling Toshido's core stamp. So, you know, sad but true when it comes to my boy Toshido. Oh, he dropped down to 55. Oh my god. But yeah, that's the reason that we sort of failed here, is that Toshido just didn't do any damage. It was essentially just Aizen carrying the show. But I mean, look at that, 24,000, 25,000. So missing about 5,000 points pretty consistently. My Komomura is the thing that is weakest here, but again, not a bad rating at all. And 5.3% with 30,000 points in total on what I would consider my actual strongest team here. And we were beat out just barely by 100 points. And you might be wondering, well, Lone, why are you bringing this up? What does this matter, right? What does any of this matter? The reason I'm bringing it up is to show, again, that free-to-play players are able to play the game and place and put up impressive scores. And the actual difference between a whales, you know, a wave of whales and, you know, your free-to-play placement is sort of just like your general game knowledge and resource management. Gacha games, and people hate hearing this, but gacha games by and large are kind of resource management games, which is very funny to think about, right? Because it's like, no, Bleach Soul Resonance is an action game, but it's a resource management game. When you're dealing with gear, your game becomes sort of resource management. And a point I made, and this is something that someone was actually asking me, and this is something I brought up. It was funny. I got asked this question and I answered this question. Little did they know, I actually had a video scheduled for the day after talking about my Rangiku. And they asked me, what should I build on Rangiku? What set? And I just answered, like, straight up, like, I think Yodahara's set is going to be better. I think that in a perfect world, I put this piece of gear on her, or this piece of gear on her. Probably this one. This one's really good. This piece of gear looks really good. I could put this on her right now. I would put, you know, maybe this on her. Doesn't really matter. Attack percent is just fine, right? And then I would give her, like, this piece right here, right? And I would just say, you know, dust my hands off. Rangiku's done. But because I'm not really satisfied with those pieces, because those pieces are very low, I sort of look at them as wasted investment, especially when the Rangiku is doing her job for now. In a bit, I'm probably going to decide to change her gear over but that's mostly going to be once I'm done with Kenpachi, right? Kenpachi is a unit I'm chasing. He's the unit I came into this game wanting. I thought when this game launched that Kenpachi would be the second character released. Genuinely. I thought it was going to be Bankai Ichigo Kenpachi. Because we had seen Kenpachi, we already knew of him, etc., etc. I just thought he was coming. With him now on the horizon, I am not looking to spend any more resources on characters that are not Kenpachi. For example, and here's like another thing of like, well, how do you spend, are you keeping a good track of your resources and stuff? Well, look at this. During the days, and I made a video talking about this as well, we are slowly being able to sort of stack up stamina again. And you could blow all of your nourishers now, but the sets are sort of done if you're waiting for Kenpachi. We've had 3 weeks to use our stamina on Gin and get his gear. What using a Gin set, a spillover Gin set on my Rangiku allows me to do is get her ailment and give it to Gin. Because remember here, it allows me to get her ailment up and give it to Gin. And then it allows me to save stamina because I'm not farming Urahara. Because I'm saving stamina, what am I now farming? 2 things, okay? I'm farming, not this, Ascension materials. I have been putting all of my stamina into getting Slash Essence, Strike Ascension, I've been putting it into getting the Court Guard practice in, the Weapon Ascension. I've been putting it into getting my Soul Guard up, and I've been putting it into getting Academy Scrolls. Getting these allows me to get ahead of that farm, and I actually have to do this one right now. The reason I'm doing Strike, if you're wondering, is because I am still not fully convinced, even with all the leaks going around, that Kenpachi will be a Slash character, so I'm hedging my bets. I've been farming Slash and Strike. What this is going to allow me to do when Kenpachi comes out is use my 4 nourishers completely on Kenpachi's gear. And remember, this is only possible because after farming all of the Gin gear, farming gear for Gin, after farming and raising gear for Gin, I actually had too many good pieces, so I ended up giving this literal 6-star piece of gear to Rangiku. After farming all of that, I said, I'm not going to put more time into farming gear sets. My Rangiku has a mega raised ailment damage, and she has a bit of ultimate charge rate. The thing she is missing, obviously, is attack percent. And, would I like to have more? Of course. Will I have more eventually? Probably. But for now, she is on the back burner. She is at 20,000 power as a SR, a free-to-play unit. And I mean, she's certainly much more than my other supports. I mean, by comparison, my god, right? The only one that could even come close is obviously Kisuke Urahara, who not only has, raised gear, but has an Ascension 3, core stamp, right? And his weapon stamp. This is sort of what I talk about when I say that gacha games, while, some are action games, some are turn-based games, some are puzzle games, some are blah blah blah, they are resource management at the very, very end of the day once we get into talking gear. And this is sort of the principle you want to move forward with. I promise it will save you a lot of heartache. The people, and by the way, this game does have a stamina shortage. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying, though, we know it has a stamina shortage, so we kind of have to make our days work for us. That way we can stockpile stamina for when things are like useful, right? You ever play a gacha game where you get like a stamina, like a 2x drop rate boost? I mean, they had one in this game, right? You get a 2x drop boost event, and that's when you want to use all your nourishers. That's when you want to use all your leaves or your meat in Dokkan Battle or whatever, is when you get those 2x bonuses. So in this case, the sacrifice that I decided to make for my account is to prioritize my stamina for the long term, so that when Kenpachi comes out, I've got more nourishers waiting for him. I've got more gear ready to be farmed. That way I can gamble on his gear, because his gear is going to be a gamble, and I would like to minimize the chance of me having to spend more days waiting to get his resources online. we've still got 2 more days as of me recording this video for me to sort of stockpile these resources. So by the time that it actually does come around, I'm going to be looking at, you know, more than enough, you know, character XP. I got a lot of character XP. That's one of the things I was farming. I was completely out of character XP. I got a lot of weapon XP. I was completely out of weapon XP. So this led me to sort of now stockpiling the books for the skills, right? You can see I have 76 of the green. I have 57 of the green here. I've got 4 here. I'm going to continue to put stamina into that. Again, I'm going to, you know, raise the ascension levels just in case, because I want to hedge my bets just in case he does end up actually being a strike character, which, like I said, I'm just not so sure that he is a slash character, because there are a lot of things telling me that he might not be. And you might be like, well, what does it cost you? It kind of didn't cost me anything, because I'm literally, this is the first time this has happened, by the way, and this is just what happens when we finally get like a frenzy feast that favors me. And what I mean is that I have a thrust team, I have a strike team, and I have a spirit team. Slash has been my weakest point, but I finally got to get all of this stuff, dude. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and then what would it be, 680? Like a bunch of jade that I didn't have access to before. I was probably missing out on almost 200 jade prior. So really cool. And at the end result, I'm a top 55 player in my server, right? Like we are not held back then by being free to play, because we've made sure to put our resources where it matters. You know what I mean? We've made sure to put our resources where it matters. That was one of the biggest things I said early on in the game when I was actually raising characters. Komomura, he got to level 60. I was using him for the story. I said, Komomura doesn't need to be raised anymore. Yeah, it would be really nice if my Komomura was raised higher. It'd be really nice if he was at 30,000 and he had his, you know, core stamp, and he had his weapon stamp, and he had, you know, the best gear in the world. But I'm not gonna lie, the more I use Komomura, the more I'm just like, yeah, put the slash resistance in the bag and then get the fuck off the field. You know, I want Yoruichi in doing the damage. You know what I mean? What does Komomura have to be raised for? You know, the more I used a character like Shikai Ichigo, I could have put a lot of effort into this character for very minimal return. And I'm not saying that there aren't people who are doing free-to-play challenges where they use characters like Shikai Ichigo and have great success, but I realized very early on, I was putting points in this character. I'm like, he's just not enough. He's just not enough. Guess what? Whoops. Challenge tower. Guess what? I guess I'm just at level. I'm just at trial 8 slash. I guess I'll get these later. You know what I mean? Because Shikai Ichigo, he's not doing it right now, and I don't want to put any more resources into him. I go down here. I had Yachido at level 40. Yachido stayed at level 40 because I was like, I'm getting really close to getting Yudahara for free. Why would I put more resources into her? I'll just wait until I get Yudahara and then run that team. You know what I mean? Haven't put a single point. I haven't put a drop of blood into Renji. I looked at Renji on like day 1 because I used this character in beta. That's the thing. I looked at Renji day 1 and I was like, if I don't get Ikaku, then it's not happening. I'm literally using Yoryu, and I'll just thug it out, man. So for a while, my thrust team consisted of Tosin, Yoryu, and then like Yodahara. You know what I mean? Like, these are sort of decisions we make long term. I mean, look, Toshido's another great example. Aizen came out, and guess what? All of my Toshido stamina had to now shift to Aizen because Aizen's that broken, which means my Toshido has been completely left behind. And guess what? At this point, it's kind of too late to go back for him. I'm not saying that at no point will I ever raise Toshido again, but for now, I mean, the game's pace is such that I've always got stuff I'm improving. So unless I really want to play Toshido, I'd rather just be building up characters like Aizen, like Gin, like Kenpachi in a few days. You know, like whoever comes after that. Ultimately, Toshido's going to be a character that I bring out. I mean, I want to get my Tozen better gear. Like, look at my Tozen's gear. Like, this is a nightmare, man. I did farm this. This looks pretty good. I'll probably switch him onto that. I like that piece a lot. So, you know, I guess for now I'll give him that just so in my head I remember. But if you want to see the type of gear I prioritize, I think this one's pretty good. Attack could have been percent, and defense is obviously not a very good mark. This is the definition of a piece that unless it hits crit rate or crit damage like by itself, like it solely goes into one of these two, I would not bring it to level 30. But this is like a great level 25 piece, especially if it misses the defense. So yeah, I mean, this has been mostly what I've been farming. What has he got here? Crit rate, but like, I mean, this is a great piece, you know? That's a great piece right there. And then, yeah, this is not great. And now you can see the fruit of my efforts. But yeah, this I've been in this stage, kind of giving it a go for a while, and as you can see, not a lot of good stuff here. This one is probably the closest I'd use. So at some point, I'll probably raise these to like 25 each, and he'll be quite a bit better for it. But yeah, that's my Toshido, right? Or my Tozen, rather. But yeah, like, I hope this makes a lot of sense. Byakuya is another character, again, before Toshido, probably, because if I'm using Toshido, I'd probably rather just be using Aizen. And if I'm using, like, and once I get like a slash unit, I'm gonna want Byakuya there, and Byakuya's gear is also sort of falling behind, right? So this is fine. This is a practical piece of gear. This is also pretty fine, I'd say. It's this piece that is really lagging behind. I like this piece too. I'd probably raise this to 25 if it doesn't hit defense. His gear doesn't need to be perfect because he's not a sub. He's a sub DPS, so that's nice. I guess next I would like to go for his core stamp because I obviously do not have it. I have his weapon though, so there's that. But yeah, just a little roundup, just a little update on how Frenzy Feast went for me this week. Pretty good as you can see. I guess we'll get that back on screen just one more time, but yeah, number 55 looks pretty good for me. Definitely not going to feel too bad about that. Again, this is in the 65 to 80, so this is the highest it goes for me. I'd probably be quite a bit higher if I was, yeah, I'd be insanely high if I was still ranking the 50 to 64, but hopefully my videos have gotten you some pretty good placements. I hear a lot that my videos have been helping people out, the free-to-plays and the like. I like occupying a free-to-play space in Gacha because I think that it's nice to know what whales think, because they'll tell you what the game's like sort of vision is. This is my perception of like Gacha, right? Whales will tell you what the sort of vision of the devs is, because the devs make the games to milk like whales' bank accounts. And I'm sort of here to tell you like what we can get out of the game, and if there's anything to get out of the game, right? Because one thing whales can't really do is speak for us, the free-to-plays, you know? They can only sort of vaguely suss out what is actually going on. Well, a free-to-play channel like this one, I showed you all the accounts, man. I had nothing paid, not even a drop, you know? So I can tell you actually what the game looks like for you, right? Whether you're low spending or free-to-play. But yeah, with all that being said, I've been Lone. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this was illuminating, at least to some degree. I like talking about the resource management part of Gacha because I do think that it is a hang up that tends to get people. I think people feel really powerless when it comes to resource management in these games. They lose all the resources and they're like, what could I have done? And then they see someone like me or like, you know, another YouTube account, and they're like, where'd you find all these resources? And it's like, well, they were there. They gave them to us, you know? We've always had them. They've always been in front of us. But yeah, like the video, subscribe to the club. I've been Lone. We all gonna make it, by the way. Peace.